Deep within the Soviet Union, a chilling experiment unfolded. It was a time of great tension and secrecy, where the boundaries of science were pushed to their very limits. The year was 1947. The world was still reeling from the aftermath of World War II, and the Soviet Union was eager to assert its dominance in every field, including science. A cold, unforgiving winter gripped the land. Snow blanketed the towns and cities, creating an atmosphere of isolation and desolation. In a secret laboratory hidden beneath the earth, away from prying eyes and the harsh winter above, Soviet scientists embarked on a daring, reckless endeavor. They were driven by ambition and a desire to achieve the impossible. Their goal? To conquer sleep. They believed that if they could eliminate the need for sleep, they could create a superhuman workforce. 5 political prisoners deemed expendable by the state were chosen as subjects. These men had little to lose and everything to gain. Lured by the promise of freedom, a chance to escape their grim reality, they agreed to participate in a 30-day experiment. They signed documents unaware of the true nature of what lay ahead. Unbeknownst to them, this was a one-way ticket into a nightmare. Their anxiety was palpable, but hope for freedom kept them going. The subjects were sealed inside a large, airtight chamber. The walls were thick and the air was stale. They were monitored through thick glass windows. Every movement, every breath was observed and recorded. The air was thick with anticipation, fear, and the hum of machinery. The experiment had begun and there was no turning back. The first few days were uneventful. The subjects chatted, read, and paced their confined space. They seemed optimistic, unaware of the horrors to come. But as days turned into nights, the sleep deprivation began to take its toll. Their conversations grew strange, their laughter laced with hysteria. Paranoia set in. They whispered to themselves, accusing each other of conspiracy. The scientists observed with morbid fascination. They scribbled notes, their faces illuminated by the flickering lights of the monitoring equipment. The subjects, once ordinary men, were transforming into something else, something monstrous. By day 10, the subjects' sanity had begun to unravel. Their whispers escalated into screams. They clawed at the walls, desperate to escape their invisible tormentor sleep deprivation. One by one, they descended into madness. They tore at their clothes, ripped pages from books, and covered the windows with their own excrement, blocking the scientists' view. The scientists watched in horror as the men inside the chamber devolved into shadows of their former selves. Days turned into weeks. The chamber remained silent, an oppressive quiet that seemed to swallow all sound. The once pristine walls now bore the marks of time and neglect, a testament to the isolation within. The stench of decay seeped from beneath the sealed door, a foul odor that grew stronger with each passing day. It was a smell that spoke of death and despair, a harbinger of the horrors that lay within. The scientists, torn between their curiosity and growing fear, decided to intervene. Their discussions were filled with trepidation, each one weighing the risks and the unknowns. They knew they had to act, but the fear of what they might find was almost paralyzing. They cautiously opened the chamber, their hearts pounding with dread. The heavy door creaked ominously, revealing the darkness within. Each step they took was hesitant, their breaths shallow and quick. What they found inside chilled them to the bone. The sight was more horrifying than any of them had imagined, a scene straight out of a nightmare, their faces contorted in shock and terror as they took in the devastation. The chamber was in ruins, littered with torn books, feces, and chunks of flesh. The walls were smeared with filth, and the floor was a chaotic mess of debris and gore. It was a scene of utter chaos and destruction. The air was thick with the coppery tang of blood, a metallic scent that clung to their nostrils and made their stomachs churn. The blood was everywhere, splattered across the walls and pooled on the floor. And in the center of it all stood the subjects. They were a haunting sight, their forms barely visible in the dim light. Shadows clung to them, making them appear even more sinister and otherworldly. They were barely recognizable as human. Their bodies were twisted and deformed, a grotesque parody of what they once were. The transformation was both horrifying and tragic. Their bodies were emaciated, their eyes bulged from their skulls, and their teeth had been ground down to nubs. They were the living embodiment of suffering and madness, a stark reminder of the descent into savagery. The subjects had mutilated themselves. They had ripped open their abdomens, spilling their intestines onto the floor. And then, driven by an insatiable hunger, they had begun to feed on each other. The scientists watched in horrified silence as the subjects, driven mad by sleep deprivation and driven by a primal urge to survive, tore into the raw flesh of their fellow prisoners. The chamber, once a sterile environment for scientific exploration, had transformed into a scene ripped straight from the depths of hell. The soldiers, horrified by what they saw, tried to remove the subjects from the chamber. But the subjects, despite their weakened state, fought back with a ferocity born of madness. They screamed, scratched and bit, desperate to remain in their self-created hell. It was during this struggle that one of the subjects uttered a phrase that would forever haunt the nightmares of those who heard it. He looked at the horrified faces of his captors and whispered, "We are you. We are the madness that lurks within you all, begging to be free." The Russian sleep experiment is a chilling tale, often shared as a creepypasta, a horror story circulated online. It tells the story of a group of Russian political prisoners subjected to a sleep deprivation experiment in the 1940s. The experiment, conducted in a secret facility, aimed to test the effects of prolonged wakefulness on the human mind and body. It's a story that preys on our deepest fears, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what might happen when we push the boundaries of human endurance, the fear of losing control, of becoming something unrecognizable, something monstrous, the fear of the darkness that resides within us all. But is it true? Could such an experiment have really taken place, hidden away from the eyes of the world? The answer, like the ending of the story itself, remains shrouded in mystery. The lack of concrete evidence only adds to the allure and terror of the tale. There's no official documentation to support its existence, no records in any known archives, and no credible witnesses to verify the events described. And many believe it to be nothing more than a well-crafted horror story, a piece of fiction designed to entertain and frighten. But the question remains, if it is just a story, why does it resonate so deeply with us? Why does it feel so real, so possible? Why does it continue to haunt our thoughts and fuel our nightmares? Perhaps it's because the story taps into universal fears and anxieties that we all share. Perhaps somewhere within us all there's a small, flickering ember of fear that whispers, what if it's true? What if in some dark corner of the world such horrors are not just the stuff of nightmares but a hidden reality?